Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Secrets for an Inspirational Life. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope that wherever you are, that you are well and peaceful. Now, in today's episode, I have a very, very beautiful soul, I have to say. But before I go on to it, so we were just talking actually now before I started recording, and I'm fascinated by her story, and I'm sure you will be. But before that, I wanted to share with you something that has been coming up a lot lately, and that is that people are saying to me, whether that be clients or friends or family, and they keep saying to me, and not that I'm the wisest person on the planet, let me say, but through my own work on myself and on my journey, it's something that I have found useful. And I think we all sometimes wonder why we are so hard to love. And people are saying this to me really a lot, especially in these past few months. And they're saying to me, Mimi, why is it that we're so hard to love? Why is it that people can't accept us and, just have this beautiful love between us? And I'm not wise enough to answer that, I have to say. But I believe that it is not that we are hard to love, far from it. It's that most people don't want to travel the road that leads to our heart. And everything, as we all know, worthwhile takes effort and care and time. And this world of rushing and never stopping literally takes the magic out of life. So I think these past few months that we have all been in the situation that has occurred in the world has brought to the surface a lot of feelings that are deep within all of us to find the meaning of our life and to realize that we don't need to search for approval. We just have to give ourselves the approval to love ourselves enough, to respect ourselves, our soul, our heart. And also is the time now to be only really with those people that see the beauty of us and walk away from everything that disrespects our being and our soul. And that is why I am so happy to have the pleasure of the company of a beautiful soul, which is Samantha Trew. Now, Samantha is fondly known as the People Whisperer, which she's going to tell you all about that, and it's fascinating. But she also works as a life coach and a Reiki master. She founded a method which is called L.O.V.E, which is let our vibration expand. And that is a rather fascinating method, which I'm going to ask her about later. Samantha also is the author of her semi-autobiographical book called Wake Up Call. And her goals are to help people tune in to the love vibration, to step into the greatest version of themselves and to create a life of peace. She is, in fact, following her dream, which is to create a spiritual rehab, so to speak. And I love this, what she says, where broken souls can come and repair their fragmented pieces. How beautiful is that? Welcome to you, Sam. I'm so pleased to have you here.
Oh, it's such an honour to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you so much. How are you today?
I'm really, really good, actually. Yes, I've had a really creative week. So yeah, and this is the cherry on the top speaking to you.
Oh, how lovely, how lovely. Oh my goodness. I am really, really pleased to have you here. And thank you for making the time, because I have to say to the listeners, this lady has one hell of a story. And she's going to be kind enough to share that with us in the next hour or so. So let's go back to the beginning, Sam. Tell us a little bit about your life and where this project of yours, Let Our Vibration Expand, because everything has a seed, doesn't it, in life? So let's go back and share with me and the listeners your story, a little bit about your story.
Okay. So I've as a child, I always was able to tune in to my parents' energy. I don't know how I managed to do it. It was just an ability that I was able to do. So I knew through the words and the actions underneath all of those things that was happening in everyday life, I knew that actually there was pain within each of them. I mean, obviously I was too young to do anything about it then, or figure it out what it was. But I just knew that they weren't themselves happy. They were, that they wasn't happy young adults. And then as I grew up and through my teenage years, I was able to pick up on other people's energy and know how they were really feeling underneath this, the mask that we all wear. I could get behind the mask and pick up on their feelings intuitively. And then I met my husband, who was back then my boyfriend, and we got on from day one. He was great, and then something happened where he was at work and he had a fall at work, and he was 26. And he fell from scaffolding, which led to him having a stroke. And then he was diagnosed with brain aneurysms.
My goodness.
And that changed life as we knew it.
And he was your boyfriend at the time?
Yeah, he was my boyfriend at the time. I think we had been dating. He was 26. I met when I was 20. So we had been dating for 6 years. So he was a long-term relationship, not just met him. And when that happened to him, I was powerless to help him. And he was told by brain consultants that there was nothing that they could do. They couldn't operate. Where this brain aneurysm was too close to his motor skills. And they actually said that we are not God, and if it's not broke, don't fix it. That's what they actually said to him. If they had operated, he could have lost his ability to talk, speak, swallow, walk. And at this point, he was still able to do all of them things. So they didn't want to touch it. And it was inoperable because he could have also had a huge risk of coming out of it a vegetable, not being able to do anything at all.
And was it the fall that caused that?
Yes. Well,
okay.
There is talk that he was possibly born with an aneurysm, but that's not been we have no proof of that. It could be the state of the fall. He fell quite far. He fell 25 foot, and he also fell. He managed, because as he was falling, he looked down, and he was in London at the time, and there was the railings. You've got the railings with the spikes.
Yes.
Well, that's what he was looking down, and to save himself from getting impaled on the railings, he actually kicked himself out as well into the road. So he fell 25 foot, but he also fell wide into the road to stop himself from getting impaled. He didn't have a stroke straight away either. He went to hospital, and they discharged him with a few cuts and bruises. It wasn't until that was in September, and it wasn't until the November when he discovered he couldn't move his foot properly, and then ended up having a spinal scan because they thought it was a spinal injury from the fall. And there was no spine, his spine wasn't injured, so then they said it was brain. And then they on top of that, they then said to him, he's obviously got these brain aneurysms, and then he had to go for a series of tests. And that's when they discovered that he couldn't actually, they couldn't operate on it. And then about 3 months later, he had severe migraine, which then caused a stroke. So that was that. And then after that, it was just a case of, recuperating really from the stroke. But the brain injury certainly changed his personality. And I had to be aware of he was very angry. He was only 26. Let's bear that in mind. He was only 26. They had told him that he couldn't work anymore because he was a liability, because a sneeze could kill him. So if he sneezed and his brain would pop, he could have a fatal brain hemorrhage. And they said that he would be prone to having seizures, like fits, and strokes, and big strokes, mini strokes, TIAs, for the rest of his life. And so he couldn't get employed and go back to work. So his life ended. So he was very angry, very bitter, and clearly disappointed, because he's an old-fashioned, he's a man's man, very old-fashioned, and wants to look after his family, and go to work and bring home the money and just support his family.
Yes.
And that was taken away from him. So after that, his personality was changing to the point where he would sometimes really react really badly towards me, and I hadn't done anything wrong. And I then was able to listen to the space in between his words, behaviour, and actions.
Explain that, Sam.
So people's words, people come from behind a wall. 99% of people that are walking this planet today have pain. That they have pain, and that they either have pain mentally, or they have pain emotionally, or they have pain physically and spiritually. So everybody reacts, everybody has a mask on, and everybody has some sort of wall that they've built up over the years because people have hurt them, or they have had some form of trauma in their life. And it can be something as simple as, falling out with your friends at school, and I'm talking about when you were 5 or 6. You can carry that through your whole life. And the wall goes up. So there's that trust issue. Can I trust you to be my friend? You know, can I trust you to not hurt me? So, and we learn that from a very young age, and we carry these walls, we build these walls to stop us getting hurt. So my husband was very angry and bitter and hurt that this, you know, he would always say, why me? Why me? I've not done anything bad. I've just wanted to work all my life and, you know, settle down, have a house, have a family. I want the simple things in life. He basically was very in pain with what had happened to him, and he took everything that happened to him very personally. So I then get to see that, but anybody else looking at him would just judge him as angry, judge him as a horrible person, you know, judge him from their own pain, you know, what's being shown. So that in a way is what I started to learn even more, that also that I was powerless to make him feel better. He had to feel better by himself. There was nothing that I could do. But I also learned that I shouldn't take it personally what he says or how he reacts or his behaviour. It's nothing to do with me. It's to do with his own pain.
But that's very difficult, isn't it? In any case, even if you learn to do that, it's difficult for you.
It was very difficult in the beginning, but the only reason why it's ever difficult is because we beautiful human beings don't love ourselves.
Yes, sadly.
So if you don't love yourself and somebody else is attacking you, or you feel they're attacking you, they're just confirming what you already feel for yourself.
Yes, they're in effect a mirror of what we feel is being reflected back to us, isn't it?
Exactly that. So I had to go on a journey of self-love, loving self, and also knowing, by not reacting but by responding in a loving, kind way, knowing that I love myself enough to increase my love vibration and expand it out to him, he will react differently.
Did he teach you how to love? Or did you know that before?
I think he's taught me so much. He's taught me so much. He's taught me compassion. He's taught me unconditional love, loving with no condition. He's taught me patience, to have patience. He's taught me tolerance, incredible tolerance. And he's taught me how to love myself without even being aware of what he's taught me.
That's a great accomplishment as a spiritual being on his part, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes when he says, why me? I often question whether that was, you know, before we were born as souls, I needed to learn more patience. I needed to learn to be more compassionate. I needed to learn to have what that unconditional love felt like. I needed to learn patience and tolerance and all of them things. And as a soul, maybe he stepped forward and said, I'll do that for you.
I 1,000% agree with you. And I was talking to somebody else actually the other day. I think it was on one of the episodes. And I don't know if you've ever read a book by, I think it's Betty J. Eady, Embraced by the Light. And this lady had a near-death experience. Have you ever read that at all, Sam?
No, I haven't.
If you ever get the chance, have a little read of that, because it's actually quite incredible. It matches what you say, and it's about how she had a near-death experience and had died, I don't know how many minutes, 10 or 20 minutes, and was taken to this place and was shown her whole life. And she was also shown about the people in her life that were there specifically for a reason, and that we had all of us, each one of us, had soul contracts with each other, so that when we came to Earth, we would do what was best to help each other learn along the journey.
Yes.
And one of them was a gentleman who was a lawyer, and his spiritual friend, before they came to Earth, had this pact with him that he would always teach him compassion, because for some reason he couldn't have compassion. So he would sit, he didn't remember it, you know, neither of them remembered it, but he would sit in front of the office and beg every day. And every day the lawyer friend would give him money, and that was the deal they made, so that he would never forget to have compassion. So I really believe what you're saying, because I do believe that we as souls have made promises to each other.
Absolutely. Well, it's funny you should say that she had a near-death experience, because in August 1990, my granddad died, and I had an out-of-body experience where he came and took me to where he was. And
after he had died?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I saw, well, I wrote the book about it. I wrote the book, The Wake Up Call, because it explains what it's like on the other side. And it was a terrifying experience for me, because and not so much when I was there on the other side, it was the coming back, having to leave him and then come back. But I came back before I came back, and on my way back to my body, my brain woke up. So eventually what happened was, and I'm cutting a very long story short because it's just another experience of mine.
But that's in your book, is it?
Yes. Well, what happened was I came back so fast and in a state, my brain became aware, and then I found myself at the bottom of my bed looking at me in bed asleep.
And you couldn't get back in?
No, and that was what was terrifying, because even then I was like, well, I'm here, but I'm there. How the hell do I get back in? And also if I was to call for my mum, she would just come in and think I was asleep. She wouldn't hear me. So it was a terrifying experience, but obviously I understand it all now. So with the understanding comes knowledge, and I know what happened.
How did you get back in?
Well, I used my hands up and down my body a few times, expecting to find some sort of hole that I must have come out of, and because then I couldn't, there wasn't anything obvious. I just thought the only way I'm going to do this is lay on top of myself, which is so weird. So lay on top of myself and calm myself down and breathe, which I did. And I also, in my head, was counting to 100. But real slowly. And when I got to 100, I could open my eyes, but I couldn't actually get my body off of the bed because my legs were still not in my body legs, if that makes sense.
You weren't, you sort of weren't in control of your body.
Absolutely not. No, my body legs were still. I couldn't move my body legs. So I was like half in and half out. So I was able to open my body eyes and wiggle my fingers, but I wasn't able to wiggle my body toes. So I closed my eyes again and counted to 100 again, and then was like, wiggle your toes, wiggle your toes.
Yes, yeah. That must have been very terrifying.
It was awful. It was an awful experience, but I've learned to control that now.
How do you do that? Because there was a lady on another episode, and she's an insomnia expert. And I was asking her the same question, because so many people I've heard, Sam, have had this experience of actual, well, I don't know what it is, but it is absolute, I think, proof that we are a soul and a body, and we work in unison. Because we couldn't move the body. I know it doesn't matter, scientists will say something else, but regardless of that, there's a place for science and there's a place for spirituality. And I think that two go hand in hand.
I think they go hand in hand, and it's just the scientists haven't and trust me, I have a lot of respect for scientists because of what they've done over the years, and what they have found and stuff. But I do seriously believe in science working alongside spirituality. And I can only speak what I believe. I believe this, they call it sleep paralysis.
I've heard of it. I've heard so many people with it.
Yeah.
But it's not, is it? It's something different.
No, it is the heaviness that you feel is your brain, your body and your brain has been asleep. It's been unconscious, it's been sleeping. And then what happens is your soul goes out and leaves its body, and you can go wherever you want. Your soul is free to go wherever it wants to go. And you have this cord attached to your body. So if somebody coughs, you're going to come straight back into your body. And sometimes people, have that feeling where they jump all of a sudden in sleep. That's them coming back. Something's disturbed them and they're coming back into their body. Other times what happens is we go back into our body, but our brain wakes up before we actually are in our body, which then people are then genuinely scared because they feel a presence or they feel something really heavy pushing on their chest. And it's not anything dark. It is their soul coming back into their body. But because we then resist it, because we're in fear now, our brain is in fear, and we resist, it's harder for the soul to get back in.
The fear creates the resistance.
Absolutely.
But that's in life as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. So the fear stops anything from, if we didn't panic about it so much and think, oh my God, I can't move my body, and have this fear and this panic about not moving your body, and then trying to move your body, but your body's not going to move because it hasn't got the energy of your soul. So your soul has to connect back to the body for the body to move, because your body needs energy.
And how does it do that?
Well, the way I control it now, whenever I feel like I can't move, I say to myself in my mind, it's okay, just breathe, it's fine, it's just you coming back, coming back. And then before I know it, I've gone back to sleep, and then I wake up in the morning and I'm fine. There's other times. Yeah, and then there's other times when I know I've been out. I know I've seen my granddad again, and I know that I've seen my nan again and stuff. And I sort of wake up again on the coming back. But now what I do is I don't panic about it. I just lay on top of my body, and I allow my soul to sink back in, and then once I can move my toes and move my fingers, I know that I'm back in earth.
It's it's very brave, you know, because it is somehow, it's this fine line between the worlds of, you know, the earthly physical world
Yeah,
and the spiritual world, which to a lot of people is unknown, or maybe, you know, they don't remember. But I think it's the most important part is that we recognize the fact that we are souls first.
absolutely. Yes,
And
yes,
when people, we all have that. We forget sometimes that we get so into the worldly affairs that we forget, actually, hold on. We are actually, I was talking about this again the other day, because so many people have this experience. We are a soul having this human experience.
yes.
And if we were to focus more on that, I think we would change the world for ourselves, but also the world collectively.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if we, you see, we all, my belief again, my belief, we all, I believe, we all come from a source of love,
Mm,
and we forget until it's asked of us. So what I mean by that is everybody believes that their first basic instinct is survival.
yeah.
And I am going to say it's not. The first, if you're drowning in the sea on your own, of course it's for you to survive.
Mm,
But how many people actually do things out of love without thinking? So if they see somebody struggling in the sea, how many people act impulsively,
mm.
not for their own safety, but to go and run and rescue that dog or that person in the sea?
And that's love.
Exactly. It's
Mm,
the basic instinct. Our basic instinct is love for each other, love for humanity. How many people, I see it quite a lot, actually,
mm.
you know, and normally in the face of um of trauma, sometimes you see a car accident, how many people stop to get out and go and help
Yes.
without any concern of whether that car's going to blow up or whether that car's going to catch fire? Or people,
It's,
you see it,
yeah.
you even see it on
Mm,
TV. There's been a bomb attack, how many
mm,
people are running towards the
mm.
damage?
It's true. A few years ago, I was on the motorway and I was with a friend of mine, and it was nighttime. It was raining, and this story that you're saying has just reminded me. And um, a motorbike overtook us. He nearly hit us, but he didn't. He
Oh my
overtook us
goodness.
at huge speed, and it was wet. And then literally there were two cars chasing this bike. So I don't know what was going on. It was very strange. There were two black cars. I had this sense, I thought, this is a bit of a disaster moment's going to happen here. I don't know why I thought that. I felt literally it must have been 5 minutes along the road, because you know how fast he was going. Everything had stopped still. All the cars had stopped still, and there'd been a huge accident, and it
Oh,
was the motorcyclist. And I had this sense, Sam, of oh my goodness, I feel this man for some reason. I don't know why.
yeah,
um there's nothing I can do, but I'm going to get out the car.
yeah.
So there was literally, I don't know, 200 cars. Everybody had that same feeling. And it was dark, it was raining, but everybody wanted to go to the aid of this man. And in that moment, there was this silence, a
Mm.
huge silence. And all of a sudden, we looked up. Something made me look up, but at the same time, all of us looked up. and we saw this light going from the motorcycle, the guy that had been hit, all the way up into the sky. It was a light, a huge light.
Wow.
And in that moment, they covered him. It was the moment he died.
You've just given me goosebumps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will never forget that in my life. And I thought all of us at that moment felt that love to get out of the car, what you were talking about.
Yeah.
And what the hell? I mean, there was ambulances that had arrived at that point, helicopter, and, you know, but it was that moment that we shared of love.
Absolutely.
And it's so powerful.
And how beautiful was that? I mean, tragically sad, but how beautiful that you all came together. Strangers came together out of love.
To see him leave Earth.
Absolutely, absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, that's why when you were talking, I was getting goosebumps, Sam, because suddenly I was reminded of that moment, because that profoundly changed a lot of things for me as well. You know, when you go through things and
yes,
you see things like that, you know that we are so much more than we realize.
Absolutely, absolutely. We certainly are. And,
So,
and our basic instinct, our very core of who we are, behind the ego, behind the walls, behind everything, we are pure unconditional love.
we are. I absolutely, you know, unreservedly agree with you. Have you heard, you must have, of the poet Rumi?
Yes.
So I have this affinity with him, I have to say, and he's inspired me. I actually did a couple of albums with his poems and a set of cards because he moved me profoundly. I have been to his tomb in Konya in Turkey.
Wow.
And it is magnificent if you ever get the chance to go, because it is absolutely, it is right up your street, because it is love in its entirety. And Rumi was a saint and a poet and a mystic, and he had a teacher, a spiritual teacher called Shams Tabrizi. And I was fascinated. I studied it so much, and I had to go to this place. And I got there, and you know how it is when you talk to your heart and you're in that moment. And when you're in a very powerful spiritual place, it affects every part of you, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
And I had these questions, and I thought, right, I've got these questions about life, about my life. I'm going to ask him. You know, spiritually, I'm going to ask him, and I'm going to see what comes to my heart. So I had this whole list, Sam, and it was this and it was that, and, you know, and there was silence. And then all of a sudden, I heard this voice in my heart, and it said, just love. And I said, yes, but I've got this other question. And it again said, the answer is love. I said, yeah, but I've got this other question. It's about my family, and it's about, and it said, the answer is love. And I thought, what is this? You know, I've got these earth-shattering questions, you know. And then again, you know, I heard this voice in my heart, and it said, the answer to every question is love. And then, in order to have the answer to every question, it is not enough to love. It is not enough to receive love. You have to become love.
Absolutely.
And in that moment, Sam, my whole life turned around, because I thought, you have to become love. We are love. You know, like you said, we are the source of love.
Yes.
And that's what it's about. And then really that was the turning point in my journey of dedicating all of my work and all the things I do for the power and the glory of love.
Absolutely.
Which is what you're doing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Tell us
And
about your project.
well, my project began, well, it was another life-changing thing for me, actually. So my project began a few, I had a few rough years, but it started in 2010. I was 40 in April 2010. And I hadn't been well at all, and I kept going back to the doctors, and the doctors were telling me, you've got a virus, and so that's why you're tired all the time. And then so I kept thinking, I don't want to bother the doctors all the time, so I'll just leave it a while. And then it just got worse and worse, and I went back to the doctors, and they said to me, you know, you're under a lot of stress, you're carrying, you know, you're looking after your husband who's had a stroke, and he's now got, 2010 he also got diagnosed with epilepsy. So, you know, you've had a lot on your plate. There's been, you know, life's not been easy for you. It is stress. There's nothing really we can do for you. Just try and not have too much stress in your life. So then I left it, and then it got to August 2010, and I was walking my dog around the field, and got this pain in my chest. And it was enough to stop me walking and question it, but it didn't last very long. And I thought, well, that's not right. That might have been a bit of indigestion, or it could have been something else, but nothing to worry about. And I carried on walking the dog and went home, didn't think any more of it. But the following day, when I went to walk my dog, I was halfway through the walk, and the pain in my chest came back, but this time it came back really more intense, and my arm went incredibly weak and tingly, and it actually took my breath away. So I actually stopped walking, it took my breath away, and it lasted longer than it did the day before. So then I knew I had to do something. So I got home and I phoned the doctors for an appointment, which was on a Friday. And I went into the doctors, and she said, what can I do for you? And I said, I just need you to have a listen to my heart. And she looked at me funny because I didn't look ill, you know. And so she's like, why? Why do I need to listen to your heart? And I said, well, I've had chest pain, and my arm's gone funny. So she did no more than listen to my heart, and then said to me, yes, I need you to have an ECG. You have got something wrong. So I had an ECG straight away, but when I came out of the ECG, she was already seeing another patient. And then I just waited for the patient to come out. And then she called me back in, and she said, okay, she said, I'm not a cardiologist, but you have trouble with your right ventricle, and I need to send you to have a echocardiogram, which is like an ultrasound on the heart. And she had booked an appointment for the Saturday. So off I went, thinking, well, I feel all right. Anyway, I had the echocardio on the Saturday, and by the Monday, the doctors had phoned me back and said, you know, can you possibly come to the doctors tonight after surgery, because the doctor would like to discuss the results of your echocardio. And I was like, yeah, no problem. So off I went into the doctors, sat down. I went on my own because I was expecting them to say something wrong with your cholesterol, you know, or something else, or we haven't found anything, so we're going to look into it further. And I sat down, and she said, right, she said, I've had the results back from your echocardio. And I said, okay. And she said, you have a very large hole in your heart, and
oh my goodness,
it will need to be repaired at St Thomas's Hospital in London, and it will probably be open heart surgery.
Oh my God.
And I couldn't quite believe what she had said. And I just said, okay. And she said, but I will refer you to a cardiologist and you'll be hearing from them. And I walked out of there completely and utterly stunned, and in shock, because my heart didn't feel like it had a hole in it. I don't know
Yeah.
how that's meant to feel, to be fair.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it certainly didn't feel like I had a hole in it.
And
So,
you had been fine until that point in your life.
well, I had been poorly, like I'd been very tired, and very breathless. But whenever I went to the doctors, they would always say it was a virus. They'd put it down to a virus, and because I took what they said and thought, I can't keep going back to the doctors saying I don't feel well.
Yeah.
And there was no other symptoms. It was just extreme tiredness and breathless. I was finding it hard to carry my basket of ironing up the stairs. I would be incredibly breathless to do that.
Mm.
So, anyway, the cardiologist made an appointment for me, and I went up for several tests. And he said to me, "You have a hole in your heart the size of a golf ball,
Oh my
and
God.
your right ventricle is enlarged because it's working extremely hard to pump the blood back through the hole,
Mm.
and you will need heart surgery." And
But
we're
Sam, sorry
yeah,
to interrupt you.
yes.
Had you throughout your life, as a child and adulthood, had you had any problems? Because it just came out of the blue. It seemed.
Totally out of the blue. Yes. No, I had a really, I used to, when I was a teenager, I swam for Kent. So I was in competition swimming.
Mm.
And I also had the fortunate opportunity to have my own horse. So I would ride every day, muck out, carry water buckets, and do stuff like that. I'd fallen off my horse loads of times doing cross country and stuff.
Mm.
And on top of that, what the surgeon, what the cardiologists were absolutely gobsmacked at was I had 3 children naturally, and no one ever detected a heart problem.
You're a walking miracle, really. My
Yeah.
goodness.
I think I've definitely been looked after.
You're
I've
definitely blessed, for
Yeah,
sure.
I've definitely been watched over.
Mm.
Someone was
Mm.
watching over me, because I
And
had, and they couldn't believe that. They couldn't believe that it was never picked up in any pregnancy either, or even while I was, giving birth. They couldn't believe that this was not ever detected.
so this is so that the listeners are clear. This is something they think that you were born with, isn't it? It's not something that you suddenly developed at 40.
No.
So
They
you lived
think
with this condition, not knowing that you had a hole in your heart.
absolutely, it's congenital heart disease. That's what I have, and I had it at birth. And I was born in 1970, so there was no ultrasound or anything like that. So,
Yeah.
but they did detect a heart murmur, and they said to my mum and dad, bring her back when she's between 9 and 12 months old, because sometimes it closes up on its own, or the murmur goes away. The baby will outgrow the murmur. And I did. I think I went back at 10 months, if I remember rightly. My mum telling me we went back at 10 months, and my heart was beating normally. It was a normal sound coming from my heart. And it wasn't until I was 40 when I became poor. Well, 39, I started struggling with tiredness, and by the time I got to 40, I was struggling with breathlessness. And that was in the April, and by the August, I was then diagnosed with this massive hole in my heart
That you'd lived with your whole life.
that I had lived with my whole life. And even the cardiologist, he said, you have been at high risk of having a stroke your whole life. because of this hole.
It's miraculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's no other word for it. So you had the operation.
Yes, I had the operation on Friday the 13th of May 2011 in St Thomas's Hospital.
And did you feel better afterwards? I know it might seem like a crazy question, but did it make a difference to your life, your health?
The tiredness and the breathlessness, yes. Other than that, because I hadn't, you know, my life carried on. I was very active, even during all this time with a hole in my heart. So I had horses, I had dogs to walk, I had children to run around, I had a husband to look after. So, and recouping after the operation was more about not even my heart, it was more about the breast, you know, the sternum repairing and mending back, because they break open the sternum that holds your ribs together, you know, and that apart. So that was more painful than the heart operation itself. But within 6 months, I mean, I had the operation on Friday the 13th of May 2011, and then my eldest daughter got married in August 2011. So a few months later, I was organising a wedding.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm dumbfounded. I'm really dumbfounded.
So
what an amazing lady you are, really. It's incredible that you have lived with this condition, not known it. Then looking after your husband, which is so gallant and so noble of you, really. It is extremely difficult to look after people in any case, but let alone when they have a lot of health issues. It's very taxing on the person, the carer.
Yes.
And now you also, moving forwards now, if we fast forward it, you also run your own practice, don't you?
Yes, I do. So,
oh my goodness.
So now I want to, I think my purpose, this is where, you know, all of these things that happen to people, you find your purpose, don't you?
Yes.
So my purpose is to help others live a better way, a better way for them and for the people around them. And I'm inspired by humans. You know, we really are fragile creatures in a very awful judgmental world at times. You know, and because we're fragile, we've created walls around ourselves to protect ourselves from anybody else hurting and pain. And I would love people to learn how to love themselves and come from a place of love, and then vibrate that beautiful basic instinct that they have, this unconditional love, out, because then that would really change the world on a collective level.
Yes.
You know, and if I ever have, you know, don't get me wrong, it's not easy. You know, I have to live every day. Every day when I get up, I'm like, how good can I stand it today?
Yeah. I think we all have that.
How good can I stand it today? And how can I serve? How can I serve others? And you know, what I say to most of my people, my clients, my people, my friends, is if ever you're up against someone who is coming from a place of pain, but they're coming in, they're showing their pain in anger or, you know, aggression or anything like that, the question you need to ask yourself before you even react is, what would love do right now?
What would love do? Wow, what a line. Wow, what would love do?
What would love
This is
do?
like an ideal world. This is like the life of fairy tales.
I'm living it. So I
Me
know.
too. Me too.
I know it works. I know this works
It's the
because I
only
live
thing
it.
that works. It's the only
Absolutely.
thing that works. Yes.
Absolutely.
Mm,
And I live it every day.
yeah.
And because I know it works, and I can be vulnerable without weakness.
Vulnerable without weakness. That's an interesting thing.
Yes. Because a lot of people think vulnerability is a weakness, and it's not, it's a strength.
Like kindness, for example.
Exactly. If you can be vulnerable, if you can say to somebody that you love, if you're in a relationship, I have said it to my husband, who has, not now, but in years gone by, when he has come at me with his pain. And I was learning to love myself and be vulnerable. And there was a point where I had to say to him, hey, this isn't my shit. This isn't your shit, but this is mine. And right now I'm feeling really insecure. And I'm feeling that you're pushing me away and you don't want to be with me anymore. And in that moment of vulnerability, rather than attacking him or reacting back to his behaviour, I could own how I was feeling and express that's how I was feeling. And in that moment, he was able to be vulnerable too and say to me, it's not that I don't want you. I just think I'm not good enough for you. You can do so much better than me.
Oh, wow. And how long have you been married, Sam?
We have been together for 31 years and we have been married since 2005.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Some accomplishment, really.
Well, yes, but it's been hard work. It's been a hard road, but I always think that anything, friendship is a journey. Any relationship is a journey. It's not a destination. Marriage is a journey, and it doesn't matter how long you've been with each other or how little you've been with each other. It's a journey, and it's a journey of discovery. And I think all the time you have love, all the time you love each other. You have the opportunity to grow through the difficulties.
Yeah. I believe that also. It's a learning curve, and it's a process of a journey through life that eventually turns into a journey of eternity, because we're in this constant circle, aren't we?
Exactly. And
so
if we can all just be that little bit vulnerable without fear of getting hurt and fear of the pain, then each and every one of us can heal ourselves, but also create a better world.
And let the drawbridge down, in effect.
Absolutely.
Now, you offer, Sam, one-to-one. How are people able to book with you? Is it through Skype or Zoom, or how do you run your practice? So if people now that hear this and would like to contact you and ask for your help, how can they do that?
Well, at the moment, I'm in the middle of creating a new website because my other website is old. So I'm in the process of creating a new website. But if anybody wants to get hold of me before that, it's Facebook and Instagram. Instagram, I am Reason 70. And my Facebook is Samantha Trew. And you can private message me or contact me on any of those two at the moment.
And what about email?
Email, yes, or email Samantha Trew, Trew, that is, at yahoo.co.uk.
Okay, now I am honoured, really, Sam, for you coming on. And I could talk to you for days, really, because there's so much I could learn from you. I'm fascinated by your story, and I really, really love, really deeply what you're doing. And the fact that it is all about love is something that touches my heart, especially. So, as we come to the end of this moment together and with the listeners, I always ask my guests at the end, what inspirational advice you can give, especially in these times, to people that have helped you through life and that can give hope to others?
What inspirational advice? That's a good question. That is a very good question. So, I think it's what we've just said. You know, if ever you come across anything, that you're prone to want to react to because of your wall and your defense, just ask yourself, what would love do in this moment right now? What would love do?
Oh, I'm in love with that, actually. What would love do?
What would love do?
You
I
know, I
use
might
it.
actually call this episode that, because I love it so much.
What would love do? Exactly. You know, even if you're in road rage, you know, you're going to have somebody that you don't intentionally go out to create road rage in somebody, but somebody is coming from a place of that anger and that frustration and that pain, and they're willing to bib their horn at you and stuff. Instead of reacting, what would love do? What would love do?
Yes, what would love do? Well, love, my goodness, it would do so many beautiful things, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it? And it would change everybody's day.
Yes.
It would change everybody's day.
Just one act of love per day is enough.
Absolutely.
And firstly, one act of love per day for ourselves.
Absolutely. That's the hardest journey, is to love ourselves. We love our best friends sometimes more than we love ourselves. And yet we are beautiful people. We are beautiful souls. And
We are.
you know, everybody I know, even the most angriest and aggressive people, have amazing, beautiful hearts. They're just coming from pain. And it's a good, it's nice to be reminded that however horrible somebody is, there's pain underneath it.
It's like, you know, a wounded animal, when they are hurt, they bite.
Absolutely true. I agree with you 100%.
And it's taming that anger and taming something that, I suppose, taming the hurt and showing something different.
Yeah. And it is another question you can ask yourself is, you know, in your own head, when somebody is coming from that angry place, what was it in your life that hurt you so bad that makes you want to hurt me?
Yes. And with that comes great compassion and patience. And as you said, it's the journey of a lifetime. We
Absolutely.
keep learning. We keep moving.
We never stop learning.
No. And thank you for reminding us of such precious wisdom, Sam.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to share it all with you.
It's going to be shared across the world now. You do know that, don't you? All these people are going to be writing to me and going to be saying, wow, you know, especially this one, you know, this was one of the best. I'm sure, because it's so beautiful, and it's just made my week as well, I have to say.
Oh, bless you. Well, you're an amazing, beautiful soul yourself, and you have such an amazing light, and it shines out. You don't hold it in for no one to see. You project that out, and you expand your beautiful light and your love out to so many people. And do you know what? Even when you're not thinking you're making a difference, you are amazing. And I'm honoured to be your friend on Facebook, and I'm honoured to be your friend and have this conversation with you, because your vibration is amazing, and you have this really authentic energy that comes from your soul.
Oh my goodness, I'm so shy now. I really am.
I'm
Thank
telling
you.
the truth. It's what I feel. It's what I wouldn't lie. You really are another beautiful soul who is making a difference to people's lives, and you just keep shining, keep doing what you're doing.
I'm so moved, really. I think I've got a tear in my eye, really, and I know that I will cry later, because what a beautiful thing to say. I'm sure I'm not worthy of it, but thank you
You
so much.
100% are. You 100% are. Look what you're doing. Look what you're creating for other people. It's amazing. It's amazing. And you have, even without knowing it, changed people's lives. That's a beautiful gift, Mimi. That's a beautiful gift to do.
Thank
So
you.
I want to thank you for being you and doing all that you do.
Oh my goodness. I will take it because it's coming from you, and I know that you are a genuine soul and one full of pure love and pure light. So thank you for sharing this moment in my life right now. It really means a lot, and your words truly are humbling for me. And I share the same sentiments about you, that there is something quite exquisite about your energy and your love, which comes from somewhere that I think only a few rare people have experienced in life, that have probably been back to that fountain of love that is ever flowing. And I think you're one of those people.
Bless you. Bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. And come again when your website is up and running, and all of that is sorted. Come
Yes,
again and let's
I
have
will.
another talk.
Absolutely, I'd love to. And I also, when my second book is finished, because I'm writing my second book as we
Oh,
speak.
okay. What's that
So
about?
that's the sequel to The Wake Up Call. So The Wake Up Call, just quickly, The Wake Up Call is all about life before we come here. And then the sequel will be about us being here and the lessons and the challenges that we face here.
And where is the first book available? Is
It's
it
on
Amazon?
Amazon. Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
that's The Wake Up Call by Samantha Trew.
It's by S.K. Trew.
Ah, okay, so it's The Wake Up Call by S.K. Trew.
Yes.
Okay, and the second one, will it also be S.K. Trew?
Yes, and it's called Love, Let Our Vibration Expand.
When's that coming out?
Well, I haven't quite finished it yet, because it's quite it's a bigger book than the first book, because there's so much in there. So, but I will definitely let you know when it's out, ready to go.
Let me know and come back anytime, in any case, but especially come back when that is out, because I'm going to go and get that book right now, as soon as we get off the podcast. I am, because I absolutely love it. So I have to read this. I have to know more about this because there's a certain beauty and magic in this. I can feel it. But thank you so much.
I'm sure you will resonate with it. I am absolutely sure. I'm happy to gift it to you, Mimi.
Don't worry, I'm going to buy it because I know what it's like for us authors. So I will definitely buy it, and I'm going to let you know how I get on with it. I'm going to read that. That's going to be my next book. I have like 10 books that I'd like to read, but that's going to just pass by every book, and that's going to be the next book that I read.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Now
You're
I'm
very
going to cry.
Oh dear, we would have a cup of tea now, wouldn't we? If we were sitting down, we could have a cup of tea. Yes, maybe cake or biscuits or something.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, thank you again, and I wish you all the very best always, Sam.
Thank you so much, and I wish you every success always.
Thank you. Thank you. You look after yourself and keep spreading that beautiful love of yours.
And you do the same.
I will try my best. All right then, take care.
All right, thanks so much.
Okay.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Samantha Trew. What an absolutely amazing story from such a brave and incredibly wonderful soul. You know, it is so soul inspiring to hear such beautiful yet sometimes tragic stories, but that we are still somehow able to keep hope and beauty alive within us. Amazing. Thank you so much for joining me, and please join me in the next episode. I really appreciate your presence. Until next time, take care and lots of love.
Thank you for listening to Secrets for an Inspirational Life, brought to you by your host, Mimi Novic. Please remember to subscribe to the podcast, and see you in the next episode. For more information about Mimi Novic and her books, music, and inspirational work, take a look at her website, www.miminovic.co.uk.